If I could keep only one daily creative practice alive, it would be this desk, this table, this typewriter, and it would be the journaling that I do most mornings when I come to my art studio. One question I want you to think about over the next 10 minutes is, what is one non-negotiable thing that you could do or you're currently doing that keeps your creativity alive? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. You know, these small daily actions that really do add up, they compound over time, and they are incredibly powerful tools. Oftentimes, we don't even perceive how powerful they are if they do become, part of our daily routine. A couple of notes I've made here about journaling, sketching, walking, all really important, but the list really is endless. So I want to share a little bit about this creative practice that has become a real lifeline for me as an artist in recovery. In detail, the practice looks like, practically it looks like I arrive at my studio early. I put the kettle on, make a cup of coffee. I don't turn the big light on. I just have a little lamp on at the moment, and I've got this lovely natural light pouring in through the windows, and I'm very lucky to have this space. The first thing I do is sit down at the desk. I've got this lovely typewriter here, which I invested a bit of money into. It's like a reconditioned old one, and it was sprayed like a really hot pink, which I also think is kind of cool. But for me, part of the intention of this daily practice was, when I put my money on the table, it makes me take things more seriously. And it's not to say that this typewriter broke the bank. Like, some of them are much more expensive that I've seen online. I think this was like 150 quid, 150 pounds in the UK. And so, yeah, I sit down, at my typewriter. I've got this stack of paper, which I have ripped myself in half from standard printer paper. I could use a pair of scissors, but as part of this daily practice, I think there's something really nice about sitting down, folding a piece of paper in half and ripping it in half by hand. It's all part of that kind of meditative place that I want to put myself in as often as possible. And when I was thinking about this ripping paper that I do, it really got me on to thinking about the film Perfect Days, which, if you haven't seen, I would highly recommend you go and watch if you're curious about how to find beauty in the everyday banality of life. You know, it's sort of a meditation on what it means to be a normal person, I suppose, who has an eye for beauty and grace and the sublime in the everyday. It follows a Japanese toilet cleaner and just what he gets up to on a daily basis, and I think it's a really sweet and soft and beautiful film, so it very much links into the ideas I'm speaking about today, and I would highly recommend you go and watch it. But yeah, so going back to this practice, I come in and I sit down and I type one page every morning, and I don't know what I'm going to type when I get to the studio. Every page I do in one session, so it might take me 20 or 30 minutes, if that. Sometimes it's like 10 minutes. And really what it's about is just connecting with myself and connecting with where I'm at and connecting with what is really on my mind at this moment in time. And so the practice for me is always done first thing in the morning, because I find that even though my head is very loud often when I wake up, as I know that our heads can be as artists in recovery, creative people in recovery, I do find that the morning here is quiet. My head can be quiet. I don't have any music on, and I just sit down and I spend some time thinking about what I want to write about. And the entries themselves, they're a bit tongue-in-cheek, they're a bit philosophical, I try to be funny. Whether I am or not is another question. But the most important thing is they're honest, they're authentic, they are inspired by the real things that are going on inside me that people often don't see, because I'm very good at hiding them. The simplicity of your daily creative practice really is the key, and although I'm referring to it as a daily creative practice, I appreciate that not everybody has the time every day to do it. And so what I want to suggest is that you cultivate a regular practice that you can do as often as possible. And for you, it might be at the end of the day, or it might be 30 minutes on your lunch break at work when you're not got the kids or whatever, or it could be first thing in the morning like mine. But it's really, the way that I think is useful to think about this creative practice is the same way that someone would think about a meditation practice, which is, we do these things often, and oftentimes the benefits that they bring to us are kind of under the radar in a sense. And I know in my own experience of doing this journaling, it has been really, really useful. But also some days I've been doing it, it hasn't felt like it's really done much, quote unquote, So one thing to really think about is that it's not a quick fix to our problems, It's really about carving out that space and carving out that time to just sit with ourselves for a few moments of the day as often as we can. And to ground ourselves, because for me, if I'm not grounding myself in a daily creative and spiritual practice, then very quickly the chaos starts to creep back in. And one thing that I've learned on my own journey, being 5.5 years in recovery now, is that I don't need external substances to be crazy. I can very quickly fall into very negative thought patterns, a very negative mindset, mental ill health without the use of drink or drugs. And that's a really important thing to remember, that even when we stop using drink, drugs, other substances and other negative behaviours to change the way that we feel, we still have a massive duty to ourselves and to our own self-care, to our own mental, spiritual and physical well-being. And this daily practice is a really important part of the whole package of being me, a man in recovery who's an artist. And the point of this video is to open you up to the idea that it can become a very important part of your life. Back when I was in active addiction, I used to wake up in the morning and I would reach for the bottle or reach for a spliff or, whatever it might have been, but it was the wrong thing to be doing, that's for sure. And now I have these methods in place which I try to follow to the best of my ability, and I'm not perfect. I don't come here and do it every single morning. I'm not going to lie and say that's the truth, because it's not, But when I stop doing these things, the crazy thoughts quickly start to come back in, And one thing that I think I want to close on, which I think is really important, to this idea of keeping our creativity alive in recovery through the use of a daily practice like journaling, like writing, sketchbooking, be creative. It can be whatever you like it to be. A lot of my friends are, involved in movement, and they do a lot of movement, mindful practices, which I think is really beautiful. But the one closing thought I want to end on is that recovery and creativity, they don't really thrive on complexity. They thrive on consistency and simplicity and self-honesty in our daily actions. So sometimes one simple ritual is all that we need to carry us through the day. And it's not to say, like I said, it's really not to say that this is going to fix you, because it's not. It's not been my experience of doing this daily journaling practice. But what it has done is it's helped me to process what's going on for me at any given day, any given month. And now when I look back through these, despite the fact that I'm trying to live in the day as much as I can, I've got a really beautiful physical body of work that I can return to at any time, and it will give me a good indication of where I was really up to at that moment in my life. And I think there's something really beautiful about that, So yeah, this video really is about daily meditations, creative meditations that are useful to us as people in recovery. I really invite you to share your own creative practice in the comments below if you have one, or if you don't have one and you're curious, maybe leave a question about what's on your mind. Again, as per usual, if what I'm speaking about is speaking to you, please let me know. The most important thing for me now is to connect with other like-minded people and to connect with other people who perhaps could benefit from some of the wisdom that I've picked up over the last several years of being in recovery. So yeah, give us a follow, a subscribe, a like, all that good stuff. And leave a comment if you're feeling inspired to do so, because they really do help me know that I'm on the right track and that the message I'm trying to share is landing, you know. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.